As probably you had been, moms commented on several times already, but certainly what we'd want to say is Happy Mother's Day. Here's one of the common things. I can say this with no controversy. Everybody here is a mother or had a mother. Outside of that, we're going to look at some principles about motherhood that is really riveting for us. Certainly, it's commented on in Exodus chapter 20 and down in verse 12. But additionally, the Bible says in Ephesians 6 and verse 2, to honor your father and your mother. So what we're doing is scriptural. We are honoring you for who you are and what you've done and the impact that you've had on us. In thinking about some of the qualities, the first thing that just is monumental is the incomprehensible element of a mother's love. You say, why do you say it that way? Dads love their kids. Yeah, but we express it differently. And it just kind of comes out of every pore of you. We defend the family, we provide for the family. But what's commented on throughout history is a mother's love. And God talks about his love for his people. I have loved you with an everlasting love. And talks about how moms, dads too, but particularly moms, they loved you before you were born. They looked forward to your birth. And I say ideally, because there's some moms that are a little bit upside down, and dads and non-married people, but scripturally and joyously, a mother's love can be one of the purest, most sacrificials of all loves. It's one of the strongest forces in nature. In 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 8, and talking about David and his mighty men, that they're fierce, like a bear robbed of her cubs. I've been on a trail with a bear, and I don't know if it was a his or her, but I didn't want to get any closer than I was. And I gave it, I was probably about 300 yards away, and it just stepped out into the middle of the trail I was hiking, and I slowed way down. In fact, I just stopped. You don't run because you don't want to generate an attack, but one of the things you never want to do is mess with a mama bear that's got cubs. And that goes for mamas and babies too. They can be just absolutely fiercely protective. Moms will lose sleep. They'll be exhausted. They'll sacrifice their last bite of food. That's a mother's love. And one person said, mothers hold their children's hands for a while, but their hearts forever. And I want to say, thank you, moms, for your amazing love. We're going to look at, I came across a printout that was so impressive, it could be put on a sheet or a couple of sheets of paper, but I didn't want to just spend 4 minutes reading through it, so I've broken it up. If you like this, I can get you a copy of it. But I'll have a little circle with a number in a corner, and it's going to be one of 4 parts. And the first part has to do with the mother's love. It said, the young mother asked as she set foot on the path of life, is this a long journey? And the answer was yes. And the way is hard, and you will be old before you reach the end of it. But the end will be better than the beginning. Ecclesiastes 7 and in verse 8. The young mother was happy, and she could not believe that anything could be better than these early years. So she played with their children and fed them and bathed them and taught them how to tie their shoes and ride their bike, and reminded them to feed the dog, do their homework, brush their teeth, and do the best they can. And the sun shone, and the mother thought, how can anything be lovelier than that? And that is great. But the best was yet to come. I'll come back to this story at different times in this lesson. Because in the meantime, I'd like to talk about another element beside a mother's love, and that is the timelessness of her wisdom. All of us carry, all our moms are different, we're all different, our circumstances are different, but they taught us things that we carry even now. Different mothers will have emphasized different things, but Proverbs 31:26 talks about that worthy woman and how she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. Taught us to be kinder rather than rascals and delinquents, in some of our cases anyhow, that they had a broader and a kinder point of view. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8 and 9. It says, do not forsake the commands of your father or your mother's teaching, and they shall be like a garland or a victory crown on your head. We're better because we had moms rather than just we're out there like wolves running wild. Teddy Roosevelt, warrior president, said to the organization that would become the PTA, he said, when all is said and done, it is the mother and the mother only who is a better citizen than the soldier who fights for his country. Wow, why is that? Because he shapes, the warrior shapes our present life. Moms shape all future generations. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? Great words of wisdom. And if we observe them, we're blessed. And so my mom just had, as I remember, a little handful of things that she would say to me. And at the time, I thought, why? She said, head up, chin up, chest out. That is, stand straight, rather than, kind of all, I don't know, I'm barely getting along. And she had different things she taught me. And so your moms would have taught you things that were important for you. Some maybe you learned later in life, that when things look really bad, you say, oh man, I can't deal with this. Go to bed, get some rest. Everything looks worse when you're tired, and it'll look better in the morning. And I came across a phrase Glenn and I have used for decades. Weariness makes cowards of us all. It's too much, I can't handle it. Get some rest. He said, I got the answer to that. Yeah, probably what's going to work is if I do A and B. Tell the truth. Why? It's the right thing to do, and it's easier to remember. The Judge Judy is, you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. That seems like, think about this. Your name is your reputation. Protect it. And finally, treat the janitor and the CEO just the same. Respect humanity, not just the status. And so you go into restaurants, and here's this little gal, she's sweeping up, or the janitor, or somebody in not a very high position. I try to think about if I'm in their area, good morning, how you doing? Thank you. And so there's a number of things that moms teach, and probably they read it in the book of moms. If you fall off and break your leg, don't come running to me. If you run with scissors and poke your eye out, then you'll see what I'm saying. So there's those kind of things. But moms, you have so much good that you give to your children, and we want to thank you for that. Think about this. If you mess up, I like to say fess up. Own it and fix up. You'll mature and you'll grow from it. It's all their problem. How come you got the time wrong? Why? Because I didn't do my math right when I'm looking at the clock. That's why I got the time wrong. And so the reality is we're better because of moms. Your love and your wisdom. Here's the second installment of this little story that I've got filtered in through the lesson. Storms came And the path was sometimes dark, and the children were anxious, and her mother drew them close and surrounded them with her arms of confidence and love. And when the morning came, there was still a hill ahead, and the children climbed and climbed, and both mother and children grew weary. But she said to the children, "Keep on keeping on, and we'll get there." And as the children climbed, they learned to weather the storms, and with this, she gave them strength to face the world. Year after year, she showed them compassion, understanding, hope, but most of all, unconditional love. And when they reached the top, they said, "Mom, we could not have done this without you." It's part of growing. When I was growing up, I didn't think I need a mom. I got all the answers. I'm 11, right? What an idiot. And so we need each other. We need moms. And you have an enormous opportunity for spiritual impact and being a role model. 2 Timothy, and there's a number of maternal biblical instances, but 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 5, Paul tells Timothy, "I'm convinced that the sincere faith within you first dwelt in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice." Some of you have the blessings of being a Christian and having families, Christians generationally. Mom was, grandma was, maybe great-grandma was. That was not so in my own case. But think about the families that do. You get to communicate that, and from an early age, you knew who you were, what your purpose was, and what you should be doing about that. Others of us, I don't know, just like bugs were running around, did not have a lot of that structure. 2 Timothy 3:15, and how from childhood you have known the sacred writings. I go, wow. No, the Bible was never read in my home. I don't know that they were against it. It was just never mentioned. But one principle from it was, the only biblical principle that was ever shared with me was, love your neighbor as yourself. That is, do unto others as you'd have them do to you. And well, that's a good principle. But that's not the only principle. It would have been helpful to know. And those of you that have that or that provide that for your children, what a blessing. It shapes their whole life. In Ruth 1:16 and 17, Ruth says to Naomi, "Where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge, and your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." She's made a commitment. I came out of the Moabite world. I'm not an Israelite, but I've made a determination. The God that you serve will be my God. And where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. Think about that, moms. You serve the role model for your daughters to see how to live. And you show your sons what a Christian wife should look like. We don't come with an instruction booklet taped to the bottom of a baby's foot. You share that with us, and we are so thankful that you do. And ideally, dads and moms have an extraordinary work ethic. That's one thing that I grew up with, is get on with the program. But particularly of moms. And so here's this funny little graphic. She got 8 arms, and one of them's a baby, and one of them's a broom. So you got child care and cleaning, and then here's a weight, so you got to take care of yourself and health. And here's your Bible. You want to grow spiritually, and a computer, because maybe you've got a little side business going, and answer the telephone and cook the food and you have all these things to do. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 10 says, "Whatever your hand finds to do, do with your might." I am driven by that principle. Get on with it. Do the best you can. If you're playing sports, man, pour everything into it. If you're preaching sermons, get all the pieces together that you can, or having fun, or whatever it is. Do it enthusiastically. And so that worthy woman, a handful of principles from Proverbs 31:15. She rises while it is still night and gives food to her family. She's not laying in bed till noon and, I think I'll turn on the soaps for a while and this and that. She got after things. We got a life to live and family to care for, and she's up and making that happen. And then 31:16, she considers a field and buys it, and from her earnings plants a vineyard. This is a businesswoman. She's one that cared for her family, but it wasn't limited to, the only thing I do is cook here. No, you're more than just a chef or a taxi driver or a diaper changer. Verse 17, and she surrounds herself with strength. That is, she girds herself. Everything about it, I need to be a strong person. I needed to be a strong person emotionally and intellectually. I need to be strong physically. That here's a capable person, and she determined to be that way. It wasn't just, I don't know, I can't tell you how that happened. She just determined it was going to happen. And verse 28, and her children rise up and call her blessed. And I thought about that, and I thought, wait a minute, she's described here as blessing everybody else. Oh, that is true. But she is also blessed. And the Hebrew word, as the Greek, means truly happy. You're a remarkable person. And we're honoring that. And her husband also, he praises her, saying, many women have done nobly. I've been lots of good women. He said, you're the best of the best. Thank you. And so, moms, we want to honor you. We want to appreciate you. Because one of the things you show, I came across this little graphic once before, it just really speaks volumes to me. The patience required of motherhood is phenomenal. The little graphic picture says, you want to sleep all night? Allow me to sing you the song of my people. Well, the reality is Colossians chapter 3 and verse 12, that ought to be true of all of us, that growing in that patience. He said, as chosen by God, put on a heart of compassion, gentleness, and patience. A little true confession here that a number of you I've told personally over 20 years, but maybe 20 years ago. I was preaching a series of lessons on 1 Corinthians 13, how love is. Love is patient, love is kind, and here's these 7 different things. And so I just enjoyed doing it. And I thought of myself, love is patient, and I thought, I think I'm a patient person. And we're driving home after church, and Glenda will always be very candid about her feelings of the sermon. Did a good job, wasn't your best, this or that. And I asked her, I said, because I'm feeling, this was my sermon, love is patient. And so I said, Glenda, do you see me as patient? And she said, no. No, I'm stunned. I said, no. She said, no, Paul, you're not patient. It's kind of like you looked in the mirror and there's a different person there. So the next week I'm preaching on love is kind. And I thought, I think I'm a kind person. I enjoyed the lesson, but I'm driving home and I'm afraid to ask. So I thought, okay, just muster up the courage, Paul. You might as well find out. Because you always thought of yourself as really patient. And she doesn't think so. So I said, all right, Glenda. Last week, I asked if you thought I was patient. You didn't think I'm patient. Do you see me as kind? She said, Paul, you are kind. You are very kind. But you're not even kind to patient. So, okay. All of us have areas to grow. And moms are generally gifted in that. Because you got out, particularly in the baby tantrums and through the years, the arguing, and you all had that, though, 150,000 why. Why the blah, blah, blah? How come the why that? And you just go, duct tape and chloroform is the answer to that. I got a bad attitude and you get no sleep and there's no privacy. You want to go to the bathroom, the kid's glued to your leg, and if the kid isn't, the dog is. And so that's all part of parenting. One mother of 3 was asked, if you had life to live over again, would you still have children? The mom's answer is yes, just not the same ones. So there's things to consider. And not all moms are equally patient. Not everybody is. And probably all of us are more patient with some things than maybe other kind of things. Well, how do you deal with that? Well, one of the things that really helps is Proverbs 14:33. Wisdom lies in the heart of one who has understanding. Find out, well, maybe they just have an earache. Maybe they got a stomach ache. You know what? The reality is there's sibling rivalry, and I'm dealing with that. Or find out what the real situation is and make a goal not to yell. In Ephesians 4:31, that put away all bitterness, wrath, anger, and clamor. In my house, a non-Christian house, a lot of alcohol, a lot of yelling, and I decided in our family we're not going to do that. And so if you say, well, that's how I grew up and so forth, well, it really doesn't solve anything, and it increases stress. So make it a goal. So you know what? You say, what do? Lower your voice. Say, don't do that again. So it makes an impact, and you're not yelling. Give yourself a 20-second timeout, or maybe a 20-minute timeout. Make a plan. So, all right, after I catch my breath, we're going to do this. Refuel your body. Jog, bake cupcakes, listen to spiritual music. Peace. Maybe ask for help. Romans 15:14. I'm convinced, my brethren, that you're filled with all goodness and able to admonish one another. How do you handle that? And the other mother or whoever say, well, I tell you what, when my kids were little, here's the thing that worked well for us. The third installment of this story of motherhood was as the years went on and the mother grew old, but her children were tall and strong and walked with courage. And the mother, when she lay down at night, looked up and said, the end is even better than the beginning, because my children have learned so much, and now they're passing these traits on to their children. And as the way became hard for their mother, they lifted her up and gave her their strength, just as she had given them hers. And when their mother neared the end of her journey, the children said, you will always walk with us, mother, even when you're on heaven's shore. You carry her with you all the rest of the days of your life. Because in part, if you had a mom that had some of the principles together, if not, then she had lots of challenges. That you get lifelong encouragement. Philippians 4:13, that we all choose, and Christians pass on to other Christians. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. When you feel like I can't do it, I don't have enough strength, I don't have enough wisdom, I don't have enough resilience. Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. Romans 14 and verse 19, let us pursue peace and the building up of one another. If you're blessed to have a mom like that, you have a treasure. Why? Because you teach them to find good in every situation, even those that have a lot of negative elements to it. You provide support for their dreams and their potential. You listen attentively. You remember that just because there's one negative element doesn't have to ruin the whole day. I tell people, I'll stop conversations with adults when a little kid comes up to me. Sometimes I have to say, just 1 second, because I want that child to know, I want you to know, I want to hear what you have to say. Because if you listen to them when they're 5, they may listen to you when they're 15, because you built that bridge with them. And that fourth part of the story And here's where this story ends in just a slide or two, and our whole lesson is complete. A mother is more than a memory. She is God's gift to you. Your mother is always with you. She is the voice in your head. She's with you in the smell of mutually cherished flowers. She lives inside you as you lived inside her. A mother is reflected in your emotions, in happiness and love and joy and sorrow, and even as she prayed and hoped that you would find the good in life. She is the place you came from, your first home. She is the map you follow in so many steps you take in life. Thank you, Mom, for the good you did, for the love you showed me. It gave me confidence and helped shape the person I was to become. Say, Paul, when did you realize that? It took me my whole life, but I finally realized it. And I am so thankful. So, happy Mother's Day, moms, in 2025. No one can be a flawless mom. There's no flawless dads or flawless kids or flawless anybody. But there's a million ways to be a good one. And God tells us how. Psalm 119, 105. Your word is a light to my path. We're so thankful for you, moms. We are so thankful to God who's shown us the way. If you're not a Christian, you say, I'd like to become one. I'd like to begin having my family have those kind of blessings. You can do that. We'd be happy to study with you, do anything we can.